Good evening, everybody. This is Casper from the Tropical Weather Threat Society bringing you our nightly update. Before I get started, please forgive me, folks. I have had a nasty headache all day long, so if I kind of skip around a little bit, please just forgive me. I'm struggling staring at the screen right now, but we're here. And we're still going to do our tropical update because we've definitely had some changes through the last 24 hours. If you remember yesterday, we had our little X out here with a 00 spot. That no longer exists. Now we have another 00 spot that has formed out here, or well, highlighted by the National Hurricane Center. That little low pressure has been there the entire time. And of course, we have our spot out here that is now at a 10% chance of development over the next 48 hours and a 60% chance of development over the next 7 days. Folks here in the islands, Lesser Antilles, Windwards, Leeward Islands, getting into the Virgin Islands, potentially Puerto Rico as well, it is recommended to monitor this system as it continues to progress across the basin. James, if you would please, sir, check YouTube for me. Um, Jumping into our little 00 spot out here, it'll be very easy and evident that we do have an area of rotation here. There is quite a bit of shear and dry air associated with this, although it has a 10%. There is a little area of rotation and spin there. If we jump over to Earth null, maybe try this again. If we jump over to Earth null and take a look at what we've got, we do have a very broad area of spin noted here on Earth null. It looks a little bit tighter on visible satellite than what we have here, so we'll just come up into the atmosphere. Here we'll put our trusty green circle down. We're 1 mile up, 2 miles up, and I believe that this is what we are visualizing there on the visible satellite. If we come about 3.5 miles up, you'll notice that the area of rotation there on satellite is definitely a mid-level circulation. The surface feature is extraordinarily weak and well offset to the south and to the west, and we have a trough associated with this. So maybe it's something just to keep a watch on. But right now, the National Hurricane Center has 0% chance of development on this. And the conditions are going to get extremely unfavorable as we go forward, as you can see here. That was just 4 clicks. So that's what, 32 hours? It's not happening, folks. All right. Jumping into our ensemble models. Here we have the European Legacy. This is the physics-based model, and this goes out 7 days. If we do take a look here, this area out here highlighted by the National Hurricane Center in the main development region of the tropical Atlantic will definitely need to be monitored by the folks here in the islands. Just keep a watch on it. It is not a guarantee that anything is going to impact your area at this time. We do not have anything developed, but just looking at this particular run of the Euro, and we'll show other runs as well, it is recommended to keep a very close watch on the progression of this disturbance as it makes its way across the tropical Atlantic. Now, I'm going to push this forward, and we're going to come out to 10 days. At this point in time, that spot right there. We were talking about this yesterday, and we've seen signals from the Euro in the exact same spot now run after run. So it will have to be an area of monitoring down here into parts of the Western Caribbean. If we compare the Euro to the GEFS, again, we've got this out 7 days. Folks here in the islands are highly recommended to monitor the progress of this upcoming system. If we push this out to 10 days, you'll notice we don't have much in the Western Caribbean, and then we do. All right. Again, the signal is there to where we are going to have to monitor it. One thing that I would like to point out on both of the physics-based models, when we get to this day 10 feature, from next week as we start to get towards the middle of the month, the Gulf seems clear. Now we are going to see something on the Euro deterministic that shows us something a little different, but we will discuss that when we get to it. Now, if we compare the Euro and the GFS physics-based models to our artificial intelligence AI models, we've definitely got a completely different scenario here. So if you look with the Euro AI, we still have a spot in this region that is potentially developed and work its way out associated with the stalled out frontal boundary. We also have the development or potential development of this area out here, but it is a lot further away from the islands. All right, it's the guidance on this turns it a lot quicker than some of our physics-based models. It'll be interesting to see exactly how that plays out. Now, if we compare the Euro, well, actually, we're going to push it out 10 days. Here, we'll go 10. There is a small, tiny signal right here, but I've got reservations about that particular spot. And we'll talk about that here in just a moment when we get into our deterministic runs. Taking a quick look at the Google DeepMind. If we run this forward, you will notice that the Google DeepMind definitely has more opportunities for development out here. Here we are at day 5, 120 hours. Zooming in rather close, the guidance favors a turn prior to the islands, but that's not set in stone yet. It's an outlier for the islands as far as the Google DeepMind is concerned. The AI models are more in line with one another as to where the physics-based models are more in line with one another. So again, this is going to be one of those particular situations as to who's correct. The old models that we've always been used to, or these new updated, upgraded models. How will things shift over the next 24, 48, 72 hours with these particular ensemble members? That's the question. And right now, it is too early to make that determination, but it is recommended for folks out here to keep a very close watch on it. Now, I'm going to zoom into this particular area here as we get into day 5, because you will note that we start to get a stretching out of this potential disturbance, or this disturbance potentially developing out here. But I want you to keep kind of a close eye on as the cluster comes up and it spreads out going this way. All right, it spreads out. My question is, if you watch and I run this forward a little bit more, now just imagine the tail of the trough and the frontal boundary that would be associated with this. Watch right here. You get just one. You don't get much at all. Now, if I were to run back one run on this, if it allows me to get the 6E, you will see that there were a couple more associated with it. And you can see the way that everything goes, and it's almost like there's a trough that wants to drag down and get there into parts of the Western Caribbean, and you could see it. Not a lot. Very, very low chance. So what we're looking at between the AI models and the physics-based models are totally different from one another. All right, they're completely different from one another. They agree pretty well on what is now Priscilla out here. We'll talk about that here in a little bit, but they don't on this particular run with this area out here in the main development region. So it'll be something to definitely keep an eye on over the next, this upcoming week for sure. All right, getting into our 850 millibar vorticity model. We have the Euro on the left and the GFS on the right. Today, the Euro wants to show where we have the development here. We can cleanly see our disturbance coming across the main development region. And as we get it closer, you can see the GFS wants to have something rather organized, kind of intense at this point in time. We're out 6 days. The Euro is just a little bit faster, but an awful lot weaker. This would be a struggling system on its best day, and then it gets stretched out. Now, if you notice the difference there on the GFS, it does not get stretched out. But if I run this forward here, I'm going to start day 7, and we're going to run this forward because you remember that's when we saw our little area of interest down there into parts of the Western Caribbean. Well, one thing that I will also note is that there is a developing gyre right, let's go right there. We're at hour 204 off of the 12Z, and there is a developing area of low pressure here. You've got a developed area of low pressure there. The Euro and the GFS have two completely different outcomes. All right, I run this out 10 days. You could see that the Euro associated with a upper level feature that pinched off and broke off of the previous trough, grabbed some of this moisture, and the gyre, or what's left over of it, is actually up here. As you can see with the GFS, it was associated with the trough. You've got a developing area of energy right here, plus Jerry. So all of this would be rushing out that way. And unfortunately, Bermuda would be another potential threat there. But if you go back one run, dramatically different solutions when we get out here between day 7 and day 10. So again, it's just things to monitor right now. We do not have any concrete evidence of anything. So what we have here now, again, Euro on the left, GFS on the right, 500 millibar level on the top, 700 millibar level on the bottom. The upper two graphics are about 18,000 feet above sea level, and the lower two graphics represent about 10,000 feet above sea level. So as we run this forward, we will note that here comes a very potent cold front, and it sweeps off into the Atlantic, but then here comes another reinforcing shot. Both models are in agreement with this. By the time we get to day 7, take a look. Let me get the crayons out so we can get a good idea. We've got this front that is basically all the way down. I mean, you could see it. It's just as clear as it could be. Now, obviously, the Euro has a lot more dry air associated with it than we see with the GFS, especially as we get closer and closer to the surface. But if I run this forward, now when we get to day 7, this is where the Euro and the GFS vary dramatically. All right, right now they're in decent agreement with one another. We have our developed tropical system here on the GFS. We can very clearly see it right here with that moisture. The euro, a much weaker signal that is attempting to get itself elongated and stretched out to the north. Again, there's that moisture pocket, and that is going to get stretched out. But watch back here, especially on the euro. Clear this out, and we will run this forward and watch what happens. Here comes that little bit of a CAG signal, right? Now, on the euro, you get that pinched off upper level low, and look what happens. It completely obliterates whatever there was there and kind of drags back some of that moisture and does not get the same solution that what we have here with the GFS, where we've got this massive block of dry air forcing everything this way. The euro brings this upper level low into play, draws it back this way, and then allows this area of tropical moisture to then enter the Gulf. So now, one run ago on the euro did not show this upper level low feature. The 0Z, 6Z doesn't go out far enough. The 0Z run had the frontal boundary clearing Jamaica because there was no storm or no, area of defined low pressure down here into the Caribbean as that frontal boundary approached. So there is great difference between what we see here this afternoon compared to what we saw this morning when we did our morning analysis with the team. Now, what I've got here is the wind shear models. We've got the 850 millibar to the 200 millibar level, which is approximately 5,000 to 40,000 feet above sea level. We are looking at all the winds. This will cover the jet stream. This will cover some of the low level flow. If there's winds that change with height, upper level lows, all of these features. Well, right off the bat, we can already see one upper level low here, one upper level low there, euro confirming both of these upper level lows existing. Now, these will continue to progress from east to west. We will go forward a little in time. And, well, that one isn't. They normally do. The back one did. The other one got caught with the jet stream. As you can see, that other one is beginning to retrograde back. But now, we're going to get to day 7. This is where things get awfully interesting. We have the kind of trough feature here with a low pressure anchoring it there. But then if you look at the euro, it is a completely different shape of the trough. Watch what happens with the screen on the left. Boop. There it is. There's your upper level low feature. Right there. This is a great inhibitor of would-be tropical cyclone development. But again, the part that I have, if this were to verify, if this screen right here were to become the truth, if you look at this little spot right there, that's where that moisture was located with the euro. That's also where there's a light amount of shear. We got to watch for everything this time of year, folks. I mean, it's October. Florida native, we get a little anxious when it gets to the month of October because we could get surprise, and we don't like surprise. But if we compare that with the way that the GFS is showing, look at the amplification of that wind shear. Look at the trough. And if anything were to try to get itself going down here, especially where the GFS, I don't care where it wants to develop. Goodbye. Off to the northeast. This trough feature right here will definitely capture anything that has any type of organization and usher it out into the open waters of the Atlantic. Unfortunately, though, it's got to go across land first. So, folks, this signal in the Western Caribbean is not solid by any means. If we compare that with everything that we saw with our MJO, we do have this coming back towards phase 8, phase 1. And that is a little bit of a problem because, as you can see here, we do have, associated with the GEFS, we do have an area of lighter wind shear, maybe a little bit of generated extra lift, some upper level divergence where the winds up there at like the 35, 40,000, 45,000 feet above sea level, where those winds spread outward and are not converging on one another and sinking downward. This is something to definitely keep an eye on. And we look like we're going to run that through about the middle part of October, maybe getting into sometime during the third week of October, where we can finally get rid of this and maybe get a little bit of a suppressive phase back over our area of the Atlantic. Let me set that back there. The 18's running. We do not have 18Z. All right. Again, the Global Tropics Hazards Outlook does have us with an area here highlighted, especially getting into that third week in October here, down into parts of the Western Caribbean, Southern Gulf, getting into the Eastern Pacific. We're going to have to monitor this. We need to get through this time frame. And if we can get through this time frame unscathed here in the United States, it's going to be increasingly difficult to bring any type of major hurricane impact to parts of the United States. All right, now we have two named tropical systems in the Eastern Pacific, and we also have another area of highlighted. This is going to be a part of the Central American gyre that is anticipated to develop this disturbance number 2. It's not disturbance number 1 because that was formerly Invest 99E, that is now Tropical Storm Priscilla. So this is considered disturbance number 2. It currently has a 60% chance of development over the next 7 days. The gyre itself does not get anchored over Central America, ends up moving out over into the Eastern Pacific, and then has a good opportunity to develop. But with Priscilla, we have watches. And as you can see here, it is quite close to the coast. And its overall wind field itself is far enough to where it's like, hey, maybe if this thing starts to really try to intensify, folks here into the southwestern portions of the mainland of Mexico, recommended to keep a watch on this one because it is not necessarily for direct impacts, but the peripheral impacts, especially the heavy rain, could get quite concerning in areas of elevated terrain. So currently, Priscilla is located at 15.5 north, 106.6 west, about 285 miles southwest of Manzanillo, Mexico, and about 555 miles southeast of the southern tip of the Baja Peninsula. Maximum sustained winds of 45 miles an hour, moving northwest at 7 miles an hour. Minimum central pressure of 1,002 millibars. We do have tropical storm watches for these areas here highlighted. I'm going to show it to you in graphics. We are in Mexico. I'm not even going to attempt to try to pronounce them. Yes, they do look easy, and I could probably pronounce them. but we're not going to get we're not going to let people get used to the fact that I'm going to try to pronounce them. I got a phone call from a team member earlier saying, "Here is the translation." And I gave them a little bit of English translation that is not allowed to be used on this live stream. It's not happening. Hazards affecting land. And I'm sure that the one that called me is going to chime up in chat here shortly. Hazards affecting land. Wind. Tropical storm conditions are possible within the watch area for Sunday and Monday. Rainfall. This is the biggest threat. I'm not even going to attempt. We've got 4 to 6 inches with local amounts up to 8, with other areas of 2 to 4 inches. We have that in a graphical format that we will show here shortly. As you can see with the forecast track, our watches are here on the southwestern edge of Mexico as this is continuing to pull off to the northwest. Now, this could get a lot stronger than what we see. It all depends upon how quickly this thing can develop an inner core. If it develops an inner core within the next 48 hours, don't be surprised if we see an M on this. Don't be surprised at all. Taking a look at the spaghetti plots for Priscilla. As you can see, not a lot of them have it getting towards the Baja Peninsula, but could be close enough to require watches and warnings. So folks out here, please, please, please pay attention to your official forecasts. We have key messages with Priscilla. Key message number 1. Tropical storm conditions are possible along portions of the coast of southwestern Mexico within the watch area Sunday and Monday. Interest in the southern portions of the Baja California Sur should also monitor the progress of Priscilla. Number 2. Heavy rainfall associated with Priscilla will impact coastal sections of southwestern Mexico through Monday, which could result in flash flooding, particularly in areas of higher terrain. And then number 3. The swells generated by Priscilla, it should be a no-brainer by now. We've gone over this dozens of times this year. If you've got a tropical cyclone off your coastline, stay out of the water. Simple, easy, case closed. Full stop. Stay out of the water. Real simple. All right, now our rainfall forecast. As you can see, there are quite a bit of areas that are concerning. We do have mountain ranges getting back up in here a little further inland, and especially this area highlighted here is of the greatest concern at this time. Isolated 8+ inches with this onshore flow. So folks, please monitor, be aware, and follow any directives issued to you by your local officials. Taking a look at the forecaster's discussion. There is no way I'm going to attempt to try to read this tonight. It already hurts enough to look at the screen. But what we will go down and do is show that we have, let's read this particular sentence right there. That's, well, 2 sentences. These conditions should support strengthening, although the system's large size could limit the rate of intensification in the short term. That said, some of the rapid intensification indices are greater than 50% within 36 and 48 hours. So, if Priscilla can develop a tight inner core within a larger wind field, more significant strengthening would be possible. So, as you can see, and then cooler water temperatures with a less favorable atmosphere, it's going to end up crossing that line. And if by the time we get to Wednesday and Thursday, you cross that line, you're done for. And as we can see here, we're talking about the National Hurricane Center's got it up to 100 miles an hour over the next 72 hours. But then after that, you've gotten into the wrong spot and you've gotten yourself above 20. And you're a little bit too far to the west. And it's night-night Priscilla. You get into the wrong spot, you're done out there into the Eastern Pacific. All right, jumping over to Octave. Octave needs to hurry up and do its thing. As you can see, out here in the middle of nowhere, not bothering anybody, just rotating along. It is currently located at 14.9 north, 123.9 west. Maximum sustained winds of 65 miles an hour, currently moving north-northwest at 6 miles an hour with a minimum central pressure of 997 millibars. There's not going to be any watches or warnings in effect, and there will be very little hazards affecting land. It may be surf later on in the forecast, but it's highly doubtful. Priscilla is in the way. So, if we look at the forecast code, it is finally going to decide to make its eastern turn. Should be tropical depression by the time we get to the end of the forecast period. Though, over the next 24 hours, if it's going to make hurricane status, that's going to be its time. It's got a very limited window of opportunity to achieve hurricane status, although it will be minimal. And as you can see here, by the 120-hour mark, they call for this to be dissipated. But why are we here? Huh. Okay. All right, we'll go with it. That is the last noted 35 miles an hour. That's the last noted area there. And then anticipated to be completely dissipated. Not even a remnant low, just gone. Looking at the spaghetti plots now, the euro tonight compared to what we had yesterday, if we look at yesterday, it was much further to the west than what we have today. We've got a little bit of shift in the track that could bring this up towards the Baja Peninsula. But right now, this is on the ensembles. We'll have to wait and see if this is going to adjust any further to the north and to the east. If we look at and compare that with the GEFS, the GEFS is like, Euro, I have no idea what you're talking about. We are going to keep this on a steady leftward heading and get it out here into the goodbye zone for tropical cyclones of the eastern Pacific. Oh, this should have been over there. And if we look at the Euro AI, we can see that there's a lot of any impacts. Now, jumping out here to the points beyond, into the other side of the planet, boy, we've got some activity going on. And there's one thing that I really want to highlight for the folks. We've had, 9 named storms this year in the Atlantic Basin? They're on 28. 28. I'm good. Though, I will say this, their intensity and their accumulated cyclone energy is not very high at all this year. But we've definitely got some problems out there right now. So let's go through them real quick. This is the first one. This is Tropical Depression 28W. This one is potentially going to be a problem. This one has, as you can see here, coming into Category 4 status with Okinawa and a lot of U.S. military interests in that region right there. That's Cat 4. About that, that's probably conservative. This 115 knots. That's likely on the underside of what this is going to be. So all eyes are going to be on 28W as we go forward through this upcoming week, because this has all of the hallmarks of being a monster. And let's take deep mind. Take a look. Take a look. These are all 4s and 5s. All of these. If I populate the intensity distribution there, by the time that we get to 2 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, October the 7th, we've got 12 Cat 3s, 33 Category 4s, 4 Cat 5s with 1 Category 2. This one's going to be a problem potentially. The one thing that is a little bit optimistic is that it may make a turn before it gets to land. Maybe. And let's hope that that is the case. All right, jumping back out here. Now we have Tropical Cyclone Shakti, whatever you want to call it. We all know that I don't pronounce things properly in the first place. I did last night, but I don't remember how the hell I said it. So, you know, you get what you get with me. If we look here, though, this one is already the equivalent of a Category 1 hurricane on the Saffir-Simpson scale. It is running at approximately 75 knots, which is the equivalent of 85 miles an hour. Getting awfully close to the areas here in Oman, but is forecast to do that number and pretty much get eliminated there. Let's hope this to be the case. I don't care where you live. I don't want anybody to suffer from tropical cyclones and impacts. But the one that is, unfortunately, and this is why I saved this one for last. This one, unfortunately, is imminent impacts. As a matter of fact, when I mean imminent impacts, I really mean it. You know what? I might be able to pull this. I want to show you all a radar on this. You might get it here. We get radar? You got a radar? You do not have a radar. I know that there is a radar out there. Helps if I click on the damn radar, doesn't it? That's Korea, JMA. Let's go here. Lord have mercy, can't read it, but take a look down here. See if I can figure out how to single station radar. Let's go to South China and pull up a radar down here. There you go. That's Matmo. This is a problem. A big, big problem. It has a massive center of circulation. But the huge problem with this, one, you've got this trailing rain band right here. This one is terrible. It's going over the same sections. But please keep in mind, how many tropical cyclones have we seen in this area this year? A whole bunch. These waters out, or these grounds out here are completely saturated, totally saturated. Flooding is a major, major concern. Winds blowing, obviously, with saturated soils will bring down trees. Big time problems, folks. Big, big time problems out here. So our hearts go out to all these folks. Again, I don't care where you live. I don't care what government you're under. Like we're all, at the end of the day, we're all humans, and it doesn't matter to me. I want everybody to remain safe, and unfortunately, these folks out here have taken a beating, one right after another, all year long. It's so sad, because as you can see here, it is forecast to continue to intensify all the way up till landfall. And these red circles, that's the tropical storm force wind field. We're talking about another round of really big time impacts. They have not recovered from the last one. They're getting hit again. So this is sad. This is very, very unfortunate. And to see a storm like that on radar You know if it's on radar, it's too close to land. That's too close to land. That's a problem. All right, everybody. I am going to needs potential impacts for Puerto Rico and potential strength. It's too early to tell. For our question there on YouTube, it is too early to tell because of the fact that we have a few of the models on our legacy that bring it to and get it close to the island. But then if you compare that with our AI, we don't get it close. And I will pull this back and we will run back over to our basin. And again, I will pull up the Google DeepMind and we'll zoom in. Again, there's what, 1, 2, 3, 8% chance from the DeepMind. The DeepMind is literally probability, period. That's all it is. You see the ensemble, you see a line, 2%. 50 ensemble members, 2%. There was a live stream that was held with Brian Norcross. I want to say it was day before yesterday with a Google DeepMind researcher. They could, there's some significant upgrades coming, and we may have something far superior to what we're looking at right now come next year. And that'll be very interesting. But as far as Puerto Rico is concerned and the surrounding areas, it is too early to make any determinations of potential impact. If this thing develops early, it's not going to hit anybody. It's just going to move out into the open waters of the North Atlantic. It's not even going to threaten Bermuda. So, give us maybe another... Let me see. Let me see what we got. So there's our area of interest down here. That's the surface 850 starting to tighten up. Surface feature looks like it has multiple little areas here. You've got one there and one there, and they are going to rotate like this around that pocket until something like that occurs. This one, the right side or eastern side of it is obviously the dominant side of that wave pocket. So, again, things we're going to have to keep we're keeping a very close watch on it. But if that does develop early, nope, no chance that this ends up getting threatening land. So let's hope for that. It's not very often that we're like, all right, there you are, go ahead, flip the switch, let's go. Do your thing. This is one of those. If we can get this to do its thing and get up north of 20 before it gets anywhere near 60, we're golden. And then after this mess, then all attention shifts. After we get done with this little disturbance right here, all the attention shifts back here. All right, everybody. Oh, you're very welcome, Miss Betty. All right, all. I am going to go, and I am going to go take more aspirin because my head is absolutely pounding. I feel like my left eye is going to blow right out of my skull right now. So I am going to shut this down here for tonight. We will be back live tomorrow night here on Facebook and YouTube at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. We're running every night until Halloween. Now, once we get to Halloween, you got to have 40% or I'm not going live. So that's we're going to go back to our normal old school stuff because, well, once we get to November, there might not be very much to talk about. And there's no need for me to come out here every night and bore you all to death with, hey, we're not going to have a thing. And the end of the season is in less than a month. So, all right, everybody, I will talk to you all tomorrow night. Have a great evening. And before I go, go Noles. Beat Miami because it's like that. We have I have respect for all of, well, I can't say all of our Florida teams. I can't stand the Gators, like, period, hands down. No UF. But I have respect for the University of Miami. I hope to see a very good game tonight. I wish no one get injured, but I also hope that when they go back to Coral Gables, that they take that L with them on the way. So have a wonderful evening, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Good night.